Makes even more sense once Dallah starts his channel.
Yeah.
Which
oh boy.
I think the clock is ticking. We gave him a deadline.
We set a timeline for him. Game plan.
Oh my God, you just outed me like this.
Publicly on the podcast.
On the podcast. Now everyone's gonna have these expectations. I don't know. I don't know if anyone's interested in this.
Somebody will have some expectations.
I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. Leave a comment. Hey everyone, the time has come. I finally made my channel. Welcome to Dallah Games. My name's Abdallah, and yeah, it's been a long time coming, honestly. We've been talking about it on the podcast. If you don't know, I'm part of the JRPG Pursuit podcast, where I co-host with Emily from Orbology and Brandon from Just the Gems, and it's been their running, I guess, thing to call me out on the podcast constantly about how I need to make my own channel. And you guys have been awesome too. I mean, honestly, I've gotten a lot of, comments across, Twitter, Blue Sky, and even we did a live show like a week ago for the Game Awards. And there was a lot of you who were just like, hey, come on, just do it. Just make the channel. So, here I am. Oddly enough, I think even Kojima, made a comment. I don't know. Do you guys think that's Kojima? I don't. Maybe it is. Maybe it isn't. Who knows? We'll see. Probably not, though. Yeah, probably not. But at the end of the day, I don't want to keep you guys in between Death Stranding 2. So, I got to do this. I got to get something out there just so I can appease the Kojima gods. So let's get started. Before we start the episode today, I want to give a highlight of what the goal of this channel is to me specifically. I mean, honestly, I just want to make it fun for myself to make videos and also fun for you guys to watch it. I really want to dive into gaming as a whole, not just JRPGs. I mean, primarily I will be talking about a lot of JRPGs because that's a huge passion of mine. But at the same time, there's a lot of other things I enjoy from the gaming space, be that platformers to narrative-driven games, cozy games, anything like that I find myself interested in, or anything that's new that might be fun to talk about, or even retro, and how to play retro games sometimes. I love talking about new hardware, new ways to play games, new ways to enjoy games, and just kind of help everyone understand what's out there and how they can utilize certain types of things to enjoy this awesome hobby of ours. But without ado, let's get started with today's episode. So today, I really want to get into 2025. Honestly, it's been a crazy year. 2024 was wild. It's been, just a ton of games to get through, and I'm still trying to get through all of them, and I've just got way too many things added to my backlog at this point. So, that's a whole discussion that might come up in the next video or so, but today I want to just focus on what's coming out. What are we looking forward to, and what can I, talk about? What are the things that I find interesting that are coming out in 2025 from the JRPG / just gaming world? And there's going to be a little bit of, I guess leeway in terms of games that have direct dates of release, rather games that are more obscure to okay, it's somehow coming out within 2025 at some point. But there hasn't been any distinct date yet. So I'll kind of mention those along with each of the games that we go through. And then I just want to bring up another, there's going to be a section at the end, I think, that I'll kind of very much get into with remakes and remasters, since I think that deserves its own little area of things due to the fact that I feel like 2025 is basically the year of the remaster remake, based on everything that you see, all these games that are coming out, there's a lot to be had there. So I'll kind of probably run through those at the end. But even if I'm running through them, there's going to be a lot of hype for those games in general. So let's get started with the first game. So the first game on my list should be of no shock to anyone, and that is Trails Through Daybreak 2. Now, Trails is probably one of my favorite series right now, and Daybreak is probably my favorite arc in that series currently. I mean, it's shaping up to be that way, just because, I don't know, it's just a lot more mature and more interesting to my tastes at this point in my life. But I mean, Trails in general just has a great mix of just incredible characters, world building, and just the most fun and strategic combat system. But also, like, speaking of the combat system, they've really upped the ante with this entry and this arc, with having it kind of be a mix of action and turn-based. Kind of similar to what you saw in Metaphor ReFantazio last year, but with this one, I mean, it's got the Trails spin on it. It's not, your action combat's not going to be as, complex or, fast paced as, let's say, the East series, but it is still amazing. And it's like kind of helps you get through dungeons quickly if you're trying to get to that next story beat, but also helps you grind through a lot of the series and it's a lot of the story in general. So it's a great addition. But for those who aren't really interested in, action combat as much, don't worry, you can still initiate turn-based combat whenever you like. You can just kind of skip through, action combat and play, your typical Trails combat, but just a little bit better, honestly. I think they streamlined the Orbital system and just made it a lot more easier to kind of strategize each character and, bring out these really cool skills and have fun with it. But honestly, yeah, like, combat system, you're not going to go wrong. It is a great way to start this. And but I mean, if you're looking at the big elephant in the room, is that this is a sequel. So if you haven't jumped into the Trails series yet, this Trails Through Daybreak 2 is probably not your most optimal place, but doesn't mean you can't go back and start at Daybreak 1. I'm currently playing through Daybreak 1 right now, getting ready for the release of 2, and it is a wonderful place to start your journey into Trails. And whether you want to go backwards and play the rest of the series is up to you. I know there's other, everyone always has their feelings on where anyone should start with the Trails, but honestly, just play whatever makes sense to you at the time on the system that you currently have, because you can get by with each arc kind of is contained. It does throw nods and throwbacks to other arcs and other discussions in previous games, but if you don't know, you don't know, and it's not really going to make a difference to your experience in the game. But that being said, looking forward to this game. It's coming out February 14th, so Valentine's Day, treat yourself to something nice and get Trails Through Daybreak 2. So number 2 on my list is actually a series I've never played before. I know everyone always talks about it, and I know it's very popular in the scene, and that is Atelier, the Atelier series. I'm specifically talking about Atelier Yumiya that's coming out on March 21st. But I've really never dabbled in those games, and it's always been something I've wanted to, but just haven't found myself having time or truly interest in a lot of different things. I think I got close with like Ryza. I did pick up Ryza. That is on my list for 2025 of being able to play through that. And I think maybe Atelier Yumiya might be my gateway drug into playing a lot of the older Atelier games. So who knows? 2025 might be my cozy year where I get real deep into Atelier and maybe try to find some other cozy, fun games to kind of get through that year. Get through this year, for that matter. But I just find the premise of this game super interesting. It's a lot more grittier and darker than the other ones. Like, there's this civilization that was, prosperous back in the day, and it came to an end. And during that process, alchemy was considered taboo or banned. But then you have Yumiya, who's, years, centuries later, she is an alchemist, a lone alchemist, and she's trying to figure out what happened to this old civilization and why are alchemists considered, taboo or bad in society nowadays. And so, like, it's kind of this interesting take of, like, figuring out this kind of fun mystery of what happened in history and why, alchemy is considered this way, because in the previous games it always seemed like alchemy is just integral part of society, and like you just do it and it's fun, it's more casual, it's less like the stakes are I don't know about the stakes, but it's less like intense. But with this one, it seems, I wouldn't say intense, but it's got that darker edge to it, which I'm all about. So, and the aesthetic, The visuals look beautiful. The world looks incredible. So I'm excited to just jump into this world and play as much as I want, and hopefully might get myself into Atelier Spiral this 2025. But stay tuned and let me know what you guys think about it when it comes out on March 21st. So the third game on my list is Claire Obscure Expedition 33. Now, this game just came out of nowhere last year with an announcement on a Xbox showcase, for that matter. It is, I guess, being funded by Xbox, and so it looks, I don't know, like it was shown off, and I remember just going nuts, going like, what is this game? I've never seen. Also, like, they just never show JRPGs on an Xbox showcase, let alone something as good as this. It has like a very fluid battle system that's kind of action based as well. So you have this like timed sequences that you can parry, dodge, things like that. Kind of like, a lot of games like even the Mario RPGs and things like that, where you're kind of, or like Legend of Dragoon, where you're turn-based system, but there are, action sequences or action button mash, presses that you can do to emphasize your combat and have fun with it and not make it as monotonous. And that looked fluid, and it was like the way it kind of has that very like distinct style to it that's just looks great. And the story itself, like honestly, the story kind of sits at a place where you have this paintress, what they called her, and every year she wakes up and she paints on this monolith a number, and everybody who is of that age, which the number that she paints, will soon fade away. And so you have this group of people who are, I would guess, they're 33, and she's going to paint 33 on a quest to, destroy her or remove her or do whatever it takes to defeat her and stop this, yearly like sequence of like just slowly getting rid of everybody in society of different age groups. And so it's just such an interesting premise. And I know like there's no they haven't announced the date for when this game's coming out, but I know that there is a showcase coming up for Xbox or like a developer direct that they're going to hopefully, I don't know, give us a date to when this is coming out. I know right now it just says summer 2025, so I'm patiently and impatiently waiting for this game. So stay tuned. We'll learn more about it, but get hyped. So the fourth game on my list is actually Ghost of Yotei, and I'm a huge fan of Ghost of Tsushima. When they announced Ghost of Yotei recently, I was blown away by this, because like that's probably one of my favorite games. It's like one of the few games that I like, I tend to like, I don't platinum games often, but that was a game that I just like platinumed it because I just spiraled into that game, and the aesthetics of that game and the beauty of like just everything was just like you get engulfed into that world, and I loved every minute of exploring in Ghost of Tsushima. So that goes to say, like, I know publisher, or what do you call it, developer Sucker Punch does not disappoint. I don't see them disappointing us with Yotei as well. It's going to be just as impactful, or even better for that matter. It's going to look great, and I hope they bring up the aesthetic, and I hope they kind of focus in on creative ways to make you flow through an open world rather than just having a lot of little bits and pieces on the map. I know that was the kind of the fun aspect of Ghost of Tsushima for me, is that you can turn off a lot of the map aspects and the HUD, so that way you kind of just flow with the game. And it was kind of a cool aesthetic where like the wind was kind of pushing you in the direction that you needed to go. So you didn't have to look at a map if you didn't want to. You can just kind of follow this wind. And so I thought that was just like a beautiful way to deal with open world perspectives. And like it's another one of those situations that kind of like how like Breath of the Wild is that you get to, you get it thrown into a world and just let you explore nooks and crannies and find little villages that you're saving people or fighting, bad guys, or, finding, new weapons and objects and things like that. And I think it's just one of my favorite open world-esque games in recent times. So I'm hoping for great things. I know there's no specific release date for Ghosts of Yotei yet. And so, we'll see. Hopefully they can stick to that 2025, release schedule. And I hope we hear more about it soon, so I can talk more about it. But as of right now, I know that is big on my list of excitements for this coming 2025. So yeah, let's look forward to it. So the fifth and final game on my list that I want to talk about today is Metroid Prime 4. Oh my god, I cannot believe we're getting a Metroid game like in 2025, let alone a Metroid Prime game. I mean, the last Metroid Prime 3 came out back in 2007, so the fact that we're getting a sequel again now at this point is crazy. And based off the last trailer we saw of it, it looks like everything we want it to be. And so I'm a huge fan of the Metroid Prime games. When they remastered Metroid Prime 1, like 2 years ago or so, I think it was 2 years ago now at this point, I bought that right away and jumped into it. It's really one of the best. I mean, if you haven't played the remaster, it is amazing. Do yourself a favor and play that. But, I really cannot wait for Metroid Prime 4. It looks like it has the same, awesome aesthetics, looks like the same design, mechanics, and I'm excited to see what else they kind of bring to the table into the game, that might be different from the other games. But also I'm excited to see, is this going to be a Switch 1, Switch 2, simultaneous release kind of situation. So it gives me a reason to jump on that Switch 2 ASAP, to play that in glorious graphical, whatever you call them. But honestly, yeah, Metroid Prime 4. And the one biggest disappointment to me, though, is that we have not seen a Metroid Prime 2 and 3 remaster, which I was hoping they would do before Metroid Prime 4 comes out, so that way everyone can get up to speed and won't have to go back and play the GameCube and the Wii version, or just the triple pack Wii version that they made. But I don't know, we might get a surprise and they might just shadow drop it one of these days. But other than that, Metro Prime 4 is just high up on my list. I will play that day one, and I'm super pumped for it. So before I pack up my things and finish this video and edit it, I don't know, this is my first video. I don't know what I'm doing here, but I'm gonna edit this, I'm gonna make it, it's gonna be what it is. But before I finished all that and get into everything, I kind of want to have some honorable mentions, because honestly 2025 is the year of remakes and or just remasters in general too. I didn't want to bring it up as part of the main part of the video, but I do want to talk about it just because I'm probably more excited. I'm more excited for a lot of these remakes and remasters. I mean, you have, the Lunar remasters that are coming out in April. And if you haven't played Lunar, do yourself a favor, buy the game. Do us all a favor, buy the game, just so we can show them that we need Lunar 3, because they're just the perfect PS1 era, RPG. Everything you think of PS1 era, it's exactly that. So it is the most fun. The characters are all great. The story is just charming. It is just a perfect romp through a JRPG world that just does everything you want it to do. Also, we have Suikoden 1 and 2 remaster coming out and you can't go wrong with that. You know, those games are hard to come by and they're expensive, so this is a perfect opportunity to purchase them physically and be able to play them. They're one of the best RPGs. You know, they're notoriously amazing. That's what they are. They're notoriously amazing. And so, yeah, like, jump into it. They're like the most fun. You get to recruit for like 108 characters to be in your army or in your home base. It is just, it's so much fun. So definitely check that out. I'm super excited for it. Another one I'm excited for is Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition. I am a huge Xeno fan. I don't know. I like to talk about it online a lot. I might talk about it way too much on the podcast, the JRPG Pursuit. But I'm like, it's also one of the last games that needs to get ported from the Wii U, minus the remasters or the HD remasters of the Zelda games. Besides those, this is like the big one that was kind of stuck on the Wii U. And it's incredible that they're bringing it with new content, story content for that matter. It looks great. There's new characters, and I'm excited to see what the multiplayer looks like. We might have to do some multiplayer. Like, I might have to play it with some friends. But that is like one of the games I'm 100% going to play right away. I'm really pumped for that. Now, the last game I want to talk about in this whole like remaster section remake is a remake, and that is a remake of Trails in the Sky, first chapter. Or they call it the first in this version. And my gosh, like, when they dropped this in a Nintendo Direct during the reel. I remember just like casually watching it while I was working, and in my like the side eye, I was like, wait, what's this? And I just couldn't believe they dropped it like that. And it looks incredible. Like, being able to see Estelle and Joshua in full, like, awesome. And the aesthetic, it's kind of like this, it's like this really cool, like, it's not quite Cell, but not quite like, realistic. It's a really fun, like, aesthetic to the world and to the graphics. I'm excited to see what they're doing with it. It's got like that whole kind of, I think, mix of fun with the battle system. And yeah, I'm excited to see what kind of changes they're making, what additions they're adding possibly to the story. I'm not sure how much they're going to be changing it though. Like, I think they might be using the same translation, but either way, I'm ready to jump back into that storyline and that world. So I'll be there playing it day one when I've been saying that all this whole video. I've been playing that day one. I hope I can live up to that, because there's a lot of games to say I want to play day one. So as long as they're not like back to back to back. So we'll see. Either way, I'm going to be playing those games. They're like my 2025 wish list of games that I have to get through on top of the backlog, but that could wait for later. Anyways, it's been great. I hope everyone likes the video. This is like, it's the first video. I'm just wanting to get it out here, do whatever it takes, make a video that's fun for me, and then slowly evolve and learn how to do this a lot better. But I hope everyone enjoys it. And until next time, it's been great. And yeah, thanks for checking out Dallah Games. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.